back to the Tailosive EV podcast, ladies and gentlemen. And before we get into all of the various news stories, I just want to address from the beginning the interview. We had very exclusive, very rare sighting this past week with Randy interviewing Nick and Sweeney over on the Randy and Nick.
I was so excited for it.
I knew it. I knew that was coming a mile away.
Did you get any leaks from the Nick?
What was that like?
Yeah.
What was
it? Well,
it was a great episode. I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Likewise, I could say the same.
I'm glad you guys found the time.
I'm glad you were being able to, break new grounds with doing freaking. I almost cursed because I'm so excited. Doing an Aptera interview, that is so dope. That was so cool to see. And I know you went in and you edited a little bit, but knowing how we kind of bounce off and riff with one another here, I really like the pacing and how you guys asked your questions and how that kind of just developed. Assuming you didn't cut any answers or assuming you didn't rearrange the questions, that interview went by so quick for me because it felt like a natural conversation, kind of like going back and forth the way, like Drew, the way you were just responding to a statement that he said, and that kind of leaned into a next question. It just felt less like an interview and more like a conversation, and that was really fun to just see happen. That was really cool. That was fun.
At one point,
good job, guys.
I guess he cut out at least 15 minutes of me ranting about the Cybertruck.
It was about 4 hours actually.
Yeah,
we got it down.
No, to 30 minutes. It was like 3 hours.
Fabulous editing, guys, because that was great. Good job. That was an amazing interview.
It took a long time to edit, but I care a lot about Aptera, and I don't have $50 million to give them. I have $50 million. That's just locked up. I can't touch that. But I want to build hype around them, and if anything, what was most fun about editing it was I didn't really care about how the video performed. I just was It was one of those rare moments where I was enjoying editing, and Randy knows how rare that is for me.
Yeah.
I hate editing, but I was just like, oh man, if I show this, well, he talks about this, and if we could, because we knew we wanted to get, at the same time, while I didn't care how it performed, for Aptera's sake, they're doing this for marketing, they're doing this for the publicity. I wanted to put it on the biggest, channel I could that's still EV related. I shared it through the tech community page and everything.
Yeah.
But I wanted to make it feel like they were very comfortable, like production value wise. Like, you can just give us 30 minutes of your time and I'll turn it into a big elaborate, documentary feeling thing, so that they felt comfortable coming back, because that was the first time I had ever gotten to speak one-on-one with someone that high up in any company, let alone a company I'm a big fan of. So that's why I wanted to. It was like my baby. Randy inspired me. I was handling it very cautiously, very carefully. Like, I really want to get this right, and it was probably 4 hours straight of editing and just like cutting out things that I said that didn't need to be there, or cutting out little uhs or ums. What's funny is, going back editing it, I realized that Jason and I actually speak very similarly. I noticed this thing,
your rhythm or your cadence of speaking.
Maybe not so much the rhythm, but he will start an idea, but then figure out a better way to phrase it and then start over again.
Okay.
So I didn't want to include an uncut interview because, for one, Jason's done tons of uncut interviews that I've watched, and we've seen what happens when there's no editing. And I was like, okay, there's a bunch of interviews already like that. I'd like to do a more documented, because this wasn't going on the podcast channel. I wanted it to feel a bit more structured, because we're trying to convince more people to get excited, get hyped. So I'm dealing more with battling of attention spans and that kind of thing. So if there was a thought that he stopped and then started again, I would just be like, okay, well, that didn't go anywhere, so we don't need that. And I did the exact same thing. We would start something and then not finish the thought and start over again. Gotcha. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. It's like we both kind of have that in common.
That editing was very smooth and very clean. And if I was working in the PR department of Aptera, I would in the next meeting be like, yeah, we should use these guys again. And what I liked about
That's my hope. I was trying to stand out from everybody else.
Well, this is where I like. This is where you shine. Just all the years that I've known how you ask questions, Drew. This is where you shine because like you ask questions in a way that's you're not baiting them, you're not goading them to a direction, and the way you format and the way you phrase any question, it's not only is it open ended, but you put it like you know your audience of who you're talking to, so you formulate it in a way that you're obviously setting them up for success to answer it, but not to throw them a softball, but you say it in a way that is like really. Here's an example. One of my favorite questions you ask them is knowing. I'm paraphrasing here, but knowing what your place is in the environment today and where Tesla stands, and using their port and knowing how they're ramping up with their. What have you learned from that? Like you saw it was ideal to use this. Is there back and forth collaboration happening? Like you said in a way where it's like you didn't ask, hey, are you talking with Tesla? You basically led with like, assuming you are talking with Tesla, what's happening? And doing that is always exciting because it's like, if he's telling the truth, like if he is talking, now we're getting an insight. If he's not telling the truth, then it's a cool, hey, hypothetically speaking, play make-believe with me for a second. And then it's cool to see the brain because you're not asking them yes or no questions. You formulate it where it's like, all right, I say my thing, go. And then he would proceed to answer. And anyway, I'm done gushing. It was a cool interview. I really liked it a lot.
And I owe a lot of it to Mike for scheduling it and communicating back and forth, and Mike asking a lot of the engineering questions that were over my head and that kind of thing.
There's still a lot of engineering questions I had at the end of the interview, but our time was precious and we wanted to get at least those questions that we asked in the interview asked because we felt that those were, I don't know, something that the audience would like and something that we were also curious ourselves. So we figured, okay, let's just focus on that. I had many other ones.
Oh, yeah.
If we ever
have a
interview
big
him again,
shared note. Me and Mike are still going back and forth on trying to figure out, like, if we get to interview them again, what are we going to prioritize and all that? Because
right.
We just feel so blessed and, like, so lucky that we have the opportunity to, because people have been watching me a long time know I've never had that kind of contact with Apple or Tesla or really any of the brands I'm a fan of. So we're like handling it very carefully and stuff. But I just had fun in the recording process. Like even if they said we'll do the interview, but you can't post anything, like I would have done it. I just enjoyed talking with them and having the back and forth. Like we weren't recording yet, but Jason saw when he picked up the call that Mike's drawing on the whiteboard behind him of the Aptera.
It usually gets cut off about right here if you're watching the podcast on YouTube right now. You can't really see much beyond my arms, but in that interview you can actually see the whiteboard that's right next to me that Drew's talking about. I've got an Aptera and a Cybertruck on it along with some engineering equations and all that.
And Jason was like, "Oh, I love that drawing. That's cool." Like,
so I can officially say that the chief of design has liked one of my drawings. So that basically means that I have amazing design skills. And
that's correct.
I'm ready to be hired by any EV companies today. No.
Update the resume.
I did also want to highlight our appreciation towards the media team. Sarah, Quincy, Chris. They've all been very helpful and all that, setting up this interview with Jason, and it was great. It was all very smooth. We had some hiccups, I guess, in schedule. For a little bit of context.
That was my fault.
Well, yeah, apparently Drew just had to go and disappear for about, a few weeks, 2 weeks or something like that. So
yeah,
whatever. But that's fine. It just
I didn't know I was going to Florida, but I did.
What a crazy life you live. But yeah,
but so again, out.
Big thank you to them and their time. They're taking time out of their day just to talk with two people on the internet that talk about EVs.
I was wearing sweatpants the entire interview. I just want that to be on the record. Like, I'm just glad he didn't say anything about the Apple boxes. It's just like, who are we talking to here exactly?
Well.
But I'm thankful, even though, the Aptera like brand doesn't get as many clicks as say the Cybertruck does or Lucid does, which I'm confused why, but I just wanted to attract the Aptera type of audience to my channel because I'm all about efficiency and aerodynamics, and like that's what kind of excites me. That's why at the time of recording this, I just did a video on the Ioniq 6 because it got a price reveal and it's super efficient, and I'm like, see, this is the kind of stuff I like with electric cars. So if I'm going to have an audience built up here that's coming back regularly watching me, I don't want it to be necessarily the hyper Tesla bulls, which I've seen a lot of that are like, Tesla will do no wrong and they will deliver this, they will deliver that, and they just believe everything they say without any second guessing. It's like, what is the ethos? What's the identity of Telos of EV? Like, what's the message I want to be sending? And I guess to me, it would be just emphasis on the efficiency. Like, that's what I care most about. It's not about, ooh, build quality or ooh, luxury or ooh, acceleration. Like, I want to be associated as the efficiency guy. So that's why I was happy to have lots of Aptera fans. They were, the community has been incredibly supportive and very flattering of the interview, which made me very thankful because I'm like, hey, maybe these guys will stick around because, Aptera is an incredible vehicle, but it's still a two-seater, so there's other vehicles in our lives that will play into effect, whether they're from Aptera or not.
Yeah,
Used to say.
I was looking through all the comments earlier in the podcast, and there's a lot of very nice, genuine comments, which I appreciate.
Very friendly.
I definitely appreciate all the positivity.
And there's not a lot of that in the EV community, for the record.
There's a lot of cynicism.
There is, most of the videos I make, I'm used to, like today's more typical video. I was like, I try to be an optimistic guy. Like, I wanted to talk about the Ioniq 6 because it was cheaper than I thought and the range is really good. So I was like, hey, as far as legacy automakers go, I think this is really impressive. This is exactly what I would suggest them do. Reuse parts and focus on aero and make it efficient. And all these comments are like, it's but ugly. It's the ugliest. It's disgusting. I hate it. I hate it so much, and it will never have full self-driving. And because you have to buy it from a dealer, I will never consider it again. And I'm like, okay, I don't like dealers either, but I was just trying to be nice, and now I'm just getting okay, back to normal. But it was nice for a day to just be able to imagine, oh, look at that, a really uplifting, supportive community. That's cool.
Randy, what do you think of the Hyundai Ioniq 6, at least in its design?
I just saw the thumbnail that Drew posted, and that was it. I haven't had time to look at it. So
that's all you really need to see.
I'm looking at the tweet. Well,
there's not much else to it.
First glance of the design, it looks very slick. Looks very sexy. Am I allowed to say that?
That's interesting. Because a lot of people hate the design.
Well, then maybe I'm not looking at what they're saying. Give me one second. I'm gonna just Google more photos from them.
It's definitely got the pixels.
I'm not a fan of all of the aero features on the back. The dual spoilers, wings, whatever you want to call them. I guess.
Do you think that's style or that's functional?
I think it's functional. I think it's both. I think it's both. It's both style and function. I've just never really been a fan of like multiple spoilers on something. I laughed out loud when Honda unveiled or released their Civic. I think, what was it, last year, the year before? I think it was the Type R or whatever they want to call it. Maybe that's Golf is what I'm thinking of. But either or. No, the Civic Type R probably. That thing had like 3 wings or spoilers on it. I just thought, why? Why does it need 3?
I get behind function. I can get behind a design with purpose. Like, I don't like, the Avatar car or the Avatar movies, to be clear. But the Avatar car was like weird for the sake of weird. It didn't serve any purpose. It was just like, look, it has gills on the back that go up and down. And I'm like, what? Why? I'm not just like, it's weird, that makes it cool. I was not immediately sold or impressed by both the Cybertruck design or the Aptera. At first glance, I was like, wait, what? Ew, that's weird. That's different. But then I looked into it and I was like, oh, So that's why it looks that way. There's functional reasons for it to look that way. That's actually really cool. And then the preference comes to follow. Now I actually think the Aptera is gorgeous and it's very eye-catching and I love looking at it. But the first impression was like, what? Wait a second. So it's kind of like, if someone had never seen, I don't know, Sage when he's older, if he'd never seen like a hammer before and you just handed someone a hammer, but you didn't tell them what it was for or what it did, they probably think it's, what is this? What's the point? Why is this had this sharp end and this flat end? What's this? And then you show someone, when it's this long, you can kind of leverage the momentum as you're hammering something, or when you need to pull the nail out, you can flip it around and do this. So if you explain why that's functional, I go, okay, actually that makes a lot of sense, and that's why the handle has that grip to it, and that's a good design. That's functional. So that's how I look at vehicles. Is like, if it has a need or there's a benefit to it, even if that need or benefit is just this helps it be easier to mass produce, this makes it cheaper, that's a function. I consider that. But if it's just styling, I have a harder time. It's like, okay, you're just trying to increase the desirability. I guess that's kind of important, but in the EV community, I feel like that's rarely a problem. So that's why I guess I don't think the Ioniq 6 looks bad. I didn't think it looks beautiful either, but I just thought that the numbers are more objective and the styling is more subjective.
I think it's very unique in its design.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of the ducktail plus spoiler, but otherwise it's a single light bar on the back, which is, I guess, the new normal now for all these cars that are coming out. They all have the light bar on the brake or on the back.
I don't get the pixels thing either. I can't really follow what the goal is.
It's just their design language for EVs, pixels, electricity, pixels, and all that. Why not? Randy, have you gotten to look at all the pictures of the Ioniq?
I have, yeah.
Electricity pixels.
Yeah, I looked at all of it. Okay, so looking at it a little bit further, first thing that comes to mind is that this car, this design language of the actual shape of this vehicle, is a modern take of a design that they've used before, that this company have used before. I don't remember the name of the vehicle. It was more sporty, and I do believe it was also a sedan, not a coupe. But it was one of their more if the Beetle or the Bug is Volkswagen's flagship for what it was, they've used a design like this before I remember shopping around, I think like in the late 2000s, that I've seen this design language. The fact that I see the shape how it is now and kind of reminds me of the Beetle or the Bug, whichever the older version of that Volkswagen was, where it has
someone else mentioned that in the comments. That's interesting. You had the same conclusion.
Yeah, that's the vibe I get from it. So
it's like a Beetle stretched out.
Yeah, or someone stepped on the Beetle.
Is the Beetle the one that was like made in the 60s or 70s? Was that the Beetle or is that the Bug?
They got well, it's the same thing. Beetle, Bug. They have
but I mean, like, actually, like, terminology. The one that was in the 2000s, I think that was the Bug, or maybe that was the Beetle.
Bug or the Beetle, or the Volt or the Bolt. The
one that was the one back in the old people times.
Bug is just what people called it because it's easier and faster to pronounce than Beetle, so there's no difference. But if you're talking about like old versus
Bug
new,
was a fan given name. It wasn't an official.
I guess
name.
So. Yeah, the VW. I mean,
Weird.
Bug, Beetle, or whatever.
All right. Well, the
but
original.
They just stopped making that recently. By the way,
they did
about 5 years ago, I think.
The original Beetle. There's vibes from this that I see. The photo that I see in our group chat right here makes it look more matte than what I was seeing in the gallery here. So that was throwing me off. That photo that I'm seeing in our group chat, if it had that, not matte, but that satin look to it, that's a cool look. And I'll disagree heavily with you, Drew, that like I think aesthetic is very important because this is a very competitive market. You need to find a way to stand out. So if not the satin look, if that could do that, there needs to be something the way the Cybertruck has caught eyes, and maybe I'm biased to it because my Model 3 stands out so badly, and
True.
no one else looks at any other Teslas when I'm near other Teslas. They all look at me because I did something intentional to stand out. So I put design on the forefront with it.
I can attest to that too. When we were in San Diego together, when you parked your car and we were just sitting next to it, there were so many people taking pictures and walking up to it, and it's definitely grabs eyes. But I would just push back a little bit, saying like some of the most best-selling cars are some of the most boring-looking cars too. They're like not that different. It's like for a lot of people, just as long as the specs are good and the price is good, they don't really care too much about. Like someone like me, a lot of the time you kind of want to blend in. You don't want to drive too much attention to yourself because you're like,
I agree.
I don't want people to think like, ooh, what's that? Or how much did that cost? I just want to be one in a crowd. That's why people buy the Lightning, right? You will never get a follow-up question when you pull up to a bar in a F-150 Lightning. They're not even going to know you're driving an electric car.
I've seen so many of those,
Cybertruck,
by the way, recently. Like every single day I drive to work, I see at least one, which is crazy. It means that they're catching up, at least in terms of deliveries.
I don't have a commute, but every time I drive a meaningful distance, I see at least one Lightning, I feel like now.
I'm so jealous.
They're very common.
You're saying,
but they blend in. And I think that's maybe the pixels are a little weird, but I feel like the numbers are how the Ioniq 6 stands out, is like range that high with the price that low.
Yeah, but now we're talking about two different things. Now we're talking about specs. We're talking about how something looks or the design of it. I want it to get weird in a familiar format. Aptera speaks for itself. Cybertruck speaks for itself. But when you look at a Lucid, you know it's a Lucid from the light beam. If you know what you're looking for, the nuances of the design that we see in an EV, it's not meant for the people who buy the most boring looking cars because of it's the most efficient. It's meant for the people like us who know what to look for, to be like, oh, that's I saw it. That's a Rivian. You can see with the oval shape. Like, you know what to look for. The average consumer, I'd make the case the average consumer's not even buying EVs right now. So it really is not for them. So whatever any company can do to draw attention away from Tesla, because it's Tesla and then it's other than Tesla. It's iPhone and it's Android. There's no
I agree with
Bitcoin and then it's whatever. Like, there is a staple and then there's everything else. And the name of the game is to take away market share from Tesla. That's the name of the game. And this is a safe but effective move of what they do, because the headlights with the pixels. Why not do it? It adds character to the vehicle.
I would love to ask the chief of design if I could.
And ladies and gentlemen, a podcast first. I have been able to arrange that one. No, I haven't.
Congrats, Randy. No. You can head that one.
I wonder,
instead of me, please.
My theory, because I don't, like, if we're just talking aesthetics, no, I don't think pixels look beautiful or gorgeous or anything. But I wondered if it was a intentional pushback on having a big emphasis on aero typically results in more designs being very curvy and rounded.
Okay.
And Tesla's kind of known for that with their swooping, headlight, or with their curved body so that it's most aerodynamic. And they thought maybe if everyone's aerodynamic, you start to blend in with the crowd. So we're going to still be aerodynamic, but on little things that won't affect the aero, like the headlights or the light bar or the charging indicators, we're going to go extra sharp. We're going to go super pixelated, really edgy, so that it stands out against the crowd. That's my only theory. That sounds more logical than someone just said, I don't know, put some pixels on there.
I want to say I'm 100% with you. And look, that photo too, that looks satin to me. But okay. It
looks like the Magic Mouse is what it looks like.
That's kind of cool because it's different. Now,
very aero.
Being different for the sake of being different, to me, not good enough. I'm with you there, Drew, that the aesthetic has to serve a or the form has to serve a function. The the architectural like geek in me that likes looking at the nuances of stuff like that. My favorite designs of things is because there was a functionality out of it that we liked. Most of the time, we don't need it in its clutter. Thus, I default on saying minimalism or minimalist. I love nothing competes even remotely close to a Tesla interior with the Model 3 or Model Y because of how minimal it is. Because that's the point. Like the when you declutter all that other distractions out of the way, what you have is your experience in front of you when you're driving, ideally. And if you're not the one driving, then it's the, they say cluttered desk, cluttered mind. Same thing in a car. Like I feel motivated to keep my car cleaner because it came to me cleaner. And if it's all these, if it looks like I'm in a cockpit of a ship, a Boeing 747, then I'll be like, just put it on the floor. What I don't get. Like you kind of mimic your environment in that sense.
I know exactly.
You remind me of who was it that compared it? They basically, someone in the space world was comparing the space shuttle interior or the Soyuz interior to the Dragon interior from SpaceX. Yeah. It's very like what you're saying, knobs and buttons everywhere. Like everything is a knob and button versus a screen and a few buttons.
You put an iPad mini that controls the entire
and that is also that's an aesthetic that serves the purpose of a function, and the function was we can make it in this case when I'm describing an interior of a cabin, much things are touch based and doesn't need to have knobs and bells and gizmos. So with that being said, when I look at the interior cabin of the Ioniq 6, it's fine. It's whatever. It's what I expect. It reminds me of the Ioniq 5, the EV6.
It's the same platform.
Yeah, I don't care. It's futuristic. I'm trying to look at it from the perspective of like, an EV. Maybe I'll get one of those. Get me out of the situation and allow me to observe it with as fresh as eyes as you guys are. I'm looking at the car for the first time like this, and the interior is the same, and that might be a safe bet to go with. I'm not a fan.
I think that's why the price is so low. Is because they can share so many components.
That's why I wanted to follow up with is if you're not a fan of the design.
Monitor thing. The thing behind the steering wheel and the thing next to it, that is not that does not excite me. It's kind of distracting. I'm not a fan of that. It doesn't look like it's all that customizable either. And I don't care for all the buttons in the center console area or on the steering wheel. But
I'm sure Drew's a little bit happier with it now. It's no longer a white bezel.
Thank you, Mike.
That was the one thing he hated about the Ioniq 5. Anyways,
this is the best Hyundai I've ever seen.
So I would say then,
and I own one.
If you're not a fan of the exterior or the interior, what about the range and price then?
Okay, I am a fan, but let's talk what really matters: the specs.
Okay.
Let me go back up to your chart here.
There's only one spec I really care about.
You're gonna tell me the price. Well, when I say spec, I'm talking about
what specs are you
I'm
interested
looking at the
in?
chart right here. Okay. These are interesting prices.
Right?
Well,
they were lower than I thought.
Wait
just
a
so
minute.
we're clear.
Yeah, but I don't know if I would have priced it this way. What?
Are these prices?
I'm a little confused by many of them. Like there's a 121 mile range difference between the standard range and the long range, which is pretty big, considering it's like a 70 mile range difference for the Model 3. But the price difference between those two is less than $4,000. So I don't know why they have all those trims. Maybe they're pulling a fast one on us and they're just going to boast about a 361 mile range variant, but then never make that one and just make all the other ones. I hope that's not the case. That doesn't seem to be what they did with the Ioniq 5. Yeah. So my hope is that they just go all in on production of the 361 mile range and just...
Agree.
That's That's the really only compelling one on this list, in my opinion. None of the other ones are very interesting or competitive. Yeah. I'm confused as to how that one gets so much more range than, like, all-wheel drive is 316. So there's like
the rear wheel thing is always going to have more, because I remember Model 3 rear wheel drive had more range than the dual motor. So correct. That's just moving parts or just the mechanical elements involved with it,
and weight and cabling and all that.
Yeah,
well, you've got a motor involved there. Even if you're able to somehow turn off that motor, you still have the complexities of it that you're carting around, and there's still some losses that you get there.
But your all-wheel drive, okay? I'm looking at the chart here, and the all-wheel drive, regardless. Like I don't remember the hit. I wish I could remember it, and I don't want to give a false number, but I don't remember the hit of range being that drastic between all-wheel long range and rear-wheel long range for the Model 3.
I remember back when they had the rear-wheel drive long range, it was like 320, or 325, and then the dual motor Model 3 was like 310.
Something like that. Yeah, it's not.
It was pretty small difference.
Okay. I get that's still 50 miles is a when we talk about specs on a paper, 50 miles matters. That's a tank. That could be a tank.
That's pretty big.
That's 2 tanks when you're trying to convert it to gas. That could go as much as two tanks of it. So yeah, I 100% agree with you. The only thing that caught my eye when I wanted to look it up was like, what's the longest range looking one? Because the only way any alternative Tesla vehicle can stand out is you have to try to go toe-to-toe with the driving range. You're not going to compete with the charging speeds. I mean, well, technically they're like, oh, well, we have these but as you've described 2-3 episodes ago, that's not technically necessarily true on how that works. You're not going to compete with the infrastructure. You're not going to compete with the price. Even the price is kind of 45. I'm so confused. Why is it 45.5 for the long range, but then you got a 47 for rear wheel when the horsepower is the same? But
that's just the one with larger wheels.
Mm-hmm.
So that hits.
Well, then maybe I should get my wife in here and we could talk about this because she cares about that part.
They're both long range rear wheel drive. Yeah.
I don't know.
So
it's weird.
Something that I was gonna ask, but then we continued with this topic is, I guess maybe that helps now. That most recent statement, is this making you rethink the Model Y, just because of range and price? Okay.
The range is not the issue.
Remember why he bought the Y?
The cabin space is the issue, not the range.
Sure. Okay.
No, this is more of the hypermiler. This is targeting the people that are trying to make really, really great time that don't need a ton of storage space, so they're comfortable with a sedan.
I would rethink the Model Y if I was able to get. I'm doing this for the podcast. I don't know if I truly own this, but I think I would rethink the Y if I could get my ideal Rivian.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. That's fair.
I don't know if I mean that, though. I think I mean that, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
Because one thing you sold me on, Drew, which is very true. You know me very well, and I don't want 2 different app ecosystems I need to back and forth through, and I don't want to relearn UI. I don't want to have an inferior charging station when I grew up, so to say, and all I know is the super charging stations. I don't want to compromise for the sake of it's different. That doesn't necessarily matter to me. Cabin space matters, and I feel like having an R1S or an R1T would make enough of a statement of like, okay, I could put a lot of things on here and we could just hit the road. But that does come at a compromise. And even if I accept that compromise, I don't know if I accept it for that price point of a compromise. So that's
Yeah,
why
it's
why I
up there.
hesitate. Yeah.
For sure. Well, I know I'm not personally a fan of the interior, just like you. I prefer the minimalistic approach, and also Ioniq 6 does an official Tailosive no-no in my book. It puts controls and buttons in the center console region, and I'm like, no, don't put nothing there. That's for my phone, and that's for drinks and for sunglasses or coupons or whatever you want to put. That's all storage. I want all my controls right up here by the steering wheel.
Word.
But I met up with some old friends this past week because they were watching my videos about Tesla, and they were thinking about getting one. So I said, well, have you ever ridden in one? And they were like, no. So I said, okay, I'll come out to you guys and drive you around in it so you can get a feel for it. And they're an older couple. They're in their 60s, and that was a concern for her. She didn't like all of the emphasis on the touchscreen because, you know, the people of the older generation tend to not have as seamless as a relationship with their phones. Oh, the phone, the touchscreen did this or that, you know. And the same thing with the car. And she was driving a Hyundai something, I forget. But it wasn't that old. It was like from 2019. But she was, her words exactly when leaving the car was like, yeah, I think I kind of prefer having my buttons and dials, and I like it to be physical. So I look at this as a decent alternative for those who don't want a Tesla for whatever reason, whether it's build quality, whether it's Elon, whether it's just software focus. I'm not one of those people. I see Randy. I see him raising his hand.
Randy is waving his arms very wildly right now.
Yeah.
Randy's so ready to make a point, but like, I'm not one of those hyperboles that thinks all automakers will die except Tesla. I see a lot of Tesla fans saying that all the time, both in their thumbnails and on Twitter. They're just like, no one else will survive. Everyone will be gone. And I'm just like, no,
that's
like,
clickbait.
First of all, governments aren't going to let that happen.
Right.
Like, even if they were completely bankrupt, like, governments bail them out. They have bailed them out several times, and they will continue to bail them out. Like, the relationship between the the unions and the lobbyists and the car companies is so strong. It doesn't matter if all of their sales flatline and they bring in no money. They will exist. So that's not going to happen. Second of all, when you drive around on city streets, notice how many variants of car there are. So many different colors and sizes and preferences that everyday car people have.
And ages.
Yeah, and ages of different makes, and there's certain features that people want to keep and certain features that people want to get rid of. Tesla's captured a very large portion of the market, sure, but I just don't see a future where Tesla just addresses every segment and every automaker can't sell anything. I just don't see that happening. I think Rivian will make it, and several legacy automakers will make it. Whether or not they deserve to make it's a different discussion, but they will be around, even if they're burning money. I feel like I got to remind all the Tesla people, like, these guys weren't profitable anyway. You know, like, like, they're losing so much money. It's like, yeah, they've been losing money for decades. It's not really changed much. And the people that cater to the non-Tesla fanatics, which do exist, they will. I'm basically weighing with a lot of these videos is who will be second place. It's a big fight for second in the EV space, and I think that the companies that prioritize the efficiency and the affordability and offering something that Tesla doesn't is a good bet, and so that's why I wanted to talk a lot and highlight the Ioniq 6, because I said, hey, this is catering to a lot of important things. So it's not for me, but I do think there's a market of people that would rather have the Android Auto, the CarPlay, and the buttons, and that's their futuristic car setup. They don't need the everything on one display. Where's the heated seats for the back? You got to open it. Where the glove box? You got to open this. You got to open that. I like that because I'm a weirdo. I like the ultra minimalism. Like, Randy can remember back in the day, I didn't like the iPad physical keyboard. I wanted the virtual one.
Yeah.
Because I was like, that's lighter, that's cleaner. So I'm weird that way. But I would never make the assumption everyone will become like me.
Yeah. So
but what was your question? You had your
no,
hand
not a
raised.
question. I had a suggestion, or I guess I do have
Oh,
a
yeah.
question. If you made an offer, a suggestion to this older couple, if they like their buttons and knobs, but they're still considering an electric vehicle, and maybe Mike can back me up on this, knowing the design language of what I'm about to say, maybe suggest a Volvo. They love their buttons and knobs, especially with the even their newer EVs. They love the vertical display. That's just been their thing for a long time. And Volvo's interiors are known for having a lot of knobs and stuff, because they used to have like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 like keypad that you could do for radio stations, or if there was pairing to the phone, you could do it that way, or they let you adjust treble, bass, and mids on your sound for the systems if you want to do. So yeah, look at that. I say that's a good compromise because it's on the steering wheel, and they get if they.
What is that, Mike? What are we looking at?
This is the
We're
Volvo.
looking at this is a
Which
Volvo XC40 Recharge. It's their first EV.
Got it.
For people
Okay.
who are the audio listeners, you could just look that up and you'll get a nice. I think it's
Look
a
up
decent
the
interior.
podcast on YouTube.
That too, yeah. Well, I mean, if you're watching or listening, whatever. Anyways, I agree with Randy. It is a nice interior that they chose. I'm more of a fan of what they're doing with the, oh goodness, I keep on messing up the name of it, but the 90, the electrified
I know
90
the
that they're making. CX90.
I think it's the CX.
XC9,
Is it CX?
XC90 is what you're
XC90.
thinking
No,
of.
well, XC90 is the current gas one, but they've
Oh,
changed it
I'll
to
look it up.
EX90.
No, you're right.
That's what it is. It's
EX.
EX90.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
They're big on
that
the
is the interior
60,
that I'm waiting for.
90. They've always gone off of that scheme of a 60 is the most common, the 90 is the luxurious one. They've had a 7. My grandma had, I think, a 70, like a C70, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we're getting very specific for no
Well, hold
reason.
on. Yeah, Drew. Is there an end to this story? Did they check out the 3?
No, they. For one, I was kind of excited to push back on that suggestion. They're interested in a sedan, not a crossover.
Ooh.
So
Okay.
this is
A
a
rare
team
breed.
sedan family. Yeah, which is why I'm a big casual sedan enjoyer. You know, I tend to fall under the crossovers or overrated type category. And
Yes,
these
Blazer
people
effect.
have. He does have a big Ram pickup truck though, but they want like a
I'm
big
already a
truck.
fan of this guy.
So, and he has it's I forget what he calls it. He likes the Cybertruck a lot, but it's a Ram from 2019, and it has like a battery in the back that controls the first like couple feet of motion, so that it's not kicking on the gas engine as much. It's not
it
like
a
a
dual?
plug-in. I forget. He had a special word for it, but it basically allows you to be a lot more precise at low speeds when you're backing up to a trailer to hook up or something. But it's not like electric powered up to 20 miles an hour or anything. But it was like it had a big battery pack that tops itself off. But he's like, if I need to move things, I use the truck. But other than that, they want something efficient and small. And
I'm never going to find it. I search up RAM with battery assist and back, and nothing but the Rev shows up. Okay.
that kind of ruined any chance. But also another big factor for them was price. They were interested in the used Model 3 market because of they were able to find those for under 40,000. So I was leaning more towards recommending if you want that more traditional interior. I was asking about their like road trip likeliness, and they weren't saying it's super high. So I was telling them to consider the Bolt just because of how much cheaper that is, and it's got the decent range. And
That's
I don't
not
think
a
they were going to be road
sedan.
tripping all too much, but. Yeah, it's not a sedan, but it would at least be pretty small. And I think that the cost was their main argument. But ultimately, they both had pretty new cars from not that long ago. So I told them you're probably better off holding off on upgrading for a while since you already
Yeah.
spent the money on these two big vehicles. But they just he wanted to know. He had a lot of questions about like battery chemistry, and he was really interested in LFP, which I was like, yeah, my kind of guy. He was like, I like this idea of the high cycle life because he doesn't want to have to think about degradation and charging to 80%. He likes the idea of not thinking about it, just charging to 100 all the time. So I was like, yeah, you'll probably get LFP Model 3s for a lot cheaper in a couple years. Maybe you can find one of those. But yeah, he was more interested in everything being on the display, and his wife was more interested in having the traditional buttons and dials and stuff. So they didn't come to a conclusion other than they'll probably wait until LFP Model 3s get cheaper. That's kind of how we ended it. But I just remember her specifically saying that she wanted more of the tactile feel. So I was like, maybe this is their kind of car. Maybe Ioniq 6 once it's been out for a while. Because it's got the range, it's got the efficiency, and it's got the pretty low price. So yeah, it's the race to second, basically.
Randy, you're looking very creepy as if you've got cursed.
Okay, he caught it.
You audio listeners are missing out, but thank you for listening on audio.
I tried to. You said something that made me think about it, so I was just. Okay. I have a thought, Drew.
Whoa.
That's a first. Randy has a thought.
Oh, is that why it smells in here?
Let's hear it.
I know why you like the display over buttons and knobs, because I was thinking like I'm not as like eccentric about it as you are, but there I know why I would take that over anything else. Is the at the end of the day, the screen is what you need it to be. So if you need it to be the media control, it is. If you need it to be the GPS, it is. If you need it to be climate control, then it is.
Or a theater screen that plays YouTube.
Screen. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have unlimited amount of possibilities with the screen, and having the Tesla update so many years now, and me experiencing the different versions of what my interactions have become with it, to the point where now I have mappable dock buttons that I could rotate in and out of. It's cool. You can't change the buttons and knobs for what it is. Some people, I guess they like that because they don't want to think about it. Like, listen, I just want to lean over. I know where the knob is by feeling it. Turn down the volume. Yes. Adjust the vent. I know what it is.
I know many people exactly like that, and they were very upset when the Tesla OS changed, when they moved things in the menus. They're like,
I was cranky. I was cranky, but you relearn your habits. I kind of forgot how to use the UI of, a home button iPhone. I kind of just know swipe gestures now. You know what I mean? Like, you relearn things. You just know how to do stuff after a while. It's all habit based, but can it be a little irritating? Yes. Even more so not for me, but then it's like, say, like my wife. I'm like, hey, can you open the glove compartment? And she goes,
That's me every single time too. I'm like, yeah, car button. Where is it on this screen? Oh, very far right. Okay.
Yeah.
And then, to be fair, to the credit, as
this is a running theme with all of our stories. Is it's a wife problem? Like, it's the same with the couple I met. You don't like that screen. Guys are like, yeah, big screen.
I love it. But at the end of the day, I think I would take the display over buttons and knobs, because you you have control over it still. Maybe not how you interact with it per se, but at least like now I have a customized dock. So I put the most used things that I need that matter the most. 95% of the time in my car, I'm doing that. And for the few occasions I need to get to my glove compartment, I got the muscle memory down. I know how to change the acceleration. I know how to get the most use. Like, how many times do I need to manually fold in the mirrors? I don't know. I've done it maybe once. It doesn't matter. So
yeah,
that's why I think I know. I think that's why I think you like it, Drew. I know that's why I like it, because it's whatever I need to be in the moment, and it can grow with the car. the software, because it's so computer based, the software can only get better. It's its worst it's ever going to be, technically today or yesterday, and it's always getting better. Just because you got used to hitting the defrost button right there or controlling the vent at a certain point right there, and then that changed, okay, you relearn it, then you're fine. You're good. You're good after you learn that, and now you have all this new cool stuff that you can kind of toy around with, and you can only get that when you have such a big enough screen real estate to work with. Maybe that's why I don't like the dual screen thing behind the steering wheel, because it's not something that you could touch or really interact with. It's just widgets and or complicated. Here, boom, here's just stuff you need to know. And
you can touch the middle one. It's just not the one in front of you. You can usually touch on.
Right.
I think Lucids you can, but you actually
Really?
segued something. Oh, wow. I think so. You segued into something that I got to experience recently. I got to sit inside a Nissan Ariya.
Whoa!
I didn't get to drive it. There was the Silicon Valley Auto Show that happens every year, except they skipped it last year. They had it this weekend. My wife and I went to it, and we got to check out all the different cars there, though it was smaller than usual and was at a different venue as well, I think because they didn't have like Mazda, Honda, GM. There's a lot of car companies missing from this car show. But anyways, they had Nissan there, and they had both the new Nissan Z, which I think I tweeted a picture of it the other day, and also the Ariya that I also saw that very same day. They had both of those there, and it was really cool to see them. But I got to sit inside the Ariya. Unfortunately, I don't think I took any. I took videos. I didn't take photos, so Drew can put them in at this point. But
Okay.
I did get to check out the center console that kind of flips out, which is interesting. I don't know if you guys have checked any videos out of the Nissan Ariya's.
I'm not fully aware of it.
So you have a button. You can see in the interior picture that Drew probably put up right here. Closest to the armrests, there's a capacitive button or resistive button, which is nice because the whole surface is wood, and then it looks like what's etched in is just like the little buttons that you can press, and it doesn't like make a clicking or a clicking sound or anything like that. You just press it and it does something. Capacitive, I guess, whatever. That has a little button or two buttons. One extends this tray that's hidden in the middle, because if you can look in that interior image, there's no center console bridge in between the armrest and the front dash.
Yeah. It's like a Rivian. It's like all open.
Yeah. And hidden in the middle of that underside of that dash is a tray that kind of swings out when you hold down this button. And then I guess you can have like a small little table, or you can lift it up and it's a little storage area as well. It's interesting. It's neat. It's different. And I thought it was really cool. But also that whole center console or the armrest thing, it's got a little button on the side where you can have it go forward or back, in which if you make it go back, you can make it go all the way to where it's crushing the person in the middle seat in the back's legs to nothing. Nice. But you can extend it forward idea. As much as you want as well, or pretty far at least. And it's nice. It's very customizable, and I enjoyed it. I didn't get to drive it. I didn't really get to do anything with it besides sit in it. But I really like the design language of it. And it actually made me a lot more excited about this product that we've been hearing about for like 3 years. And
Has it been that long now?
I feel like it's been 3 years. At least when we first heard mention of it.
Well, it looks a lot better than a Leaf. I'll give it that.
Oh, yeah. That was also pretty funny.
That's true. Yeah.
And right next to it was a Leaf, and it actually had a really cool set of rims on it. They've got new rims for the Leaf, or at least maybe they had interesting custom rims on this one just for the car show. But I was like, oh, okay. The Leaf actually looks manageable or decent. But Ariya's cool is what I kind of want to highlight, is that I would love to drive one day now. Like it wasn't on my radar at all, besides, haha, Nissan can't make an SUV in a timely manner. But now that's kind of changed into, oh, I have a clown afro and paint all over my face because I actually enjoy this experience.
So is it trying to be more luxury focused? I haven't looked too much into it. Or is it trying to be...
It only gets like 306 miles of range, I think max.
That's not bad.
But it is definitely luxury focused. What I didn't like is if you fold down the back seats, there's like, if you think about the back seats of the Model 3, because you guys have Model 3s, when you fold down those back seats, because I think you can, the whole seat goes down, like the whole part of it, and all you've got left is like the side structure of the car, and then the trunk, which is now kind of a bed in a way for if you have long objects. And the Ariya
fully opens.
If you fold down those seats, it part of the cushion is part of the structure of the car. So it kind of leaves behind, like if you have a white interior with the Ariya, it leaves behind like a rectangle or like a obtuse whatever shape of a cushion on the side of the structure, which just seems off.
Obtuse.
And yeah, I don't know. It just seems
That does sound weird.
I was just like, I don't know if I like that. And then also the hidden trunk or hidden space in the bed or whatever. It's
The sub trunk.
Yeah, it's all right. It's not not the best, but otherwise, it's definitely, like you said, it's focused on luxury, especially that front dash.
Not crazy
All the
luxury. I was just looking
like
up the prices,
which I can only imagine if you accidentally press the wrong
Model
one,
Y alternative-esque,
because it doesn't look like there's any indicators. But
like starting price.
Otherwise, it was nice.
Around 46,000.
It was a good experience. So yeah, it's a pretty cool car.
Oh, sorry. Lost mic there. Are we
back?
back?
Yeah, we're back.
Okay, cool.
We're back.
Sorry about that. But yeah,
So
a competitor to the Model Y would be. It's. Oh, you disagree?
what I kind of find, because also I got to check out the Kona and the Nero there, the new ones, and they seem like Model 3 Plus in terms of shape and I guess capability.
Standard range variety.
Or capacity in a way. Yeah, it's very much like I sat in the back of the Nero and my head was touching the roof. I'm like, or I guess the ceiling. I'm like, ew. This doesn't even happen in the 3.
You said, ew.
That is weird.
Right. And the Y, I don't think it happens. I'd have to do it again. I haven't sat in the back of the Y in a while. But even so, a lot of these cars, like they're basically like the Polestar in a way, where they look big, and they are big, but the inside still somehow is lacking that space, even though they're an EV. So I'm not too sure what's going on. I think it's
probably a lot of trying to retrofit. They're not sure either. Probably a lot of like retrofitting EVs into gas vehicle platforms so that they don't have to spend too much time and money on engineering. But that's how you can tell in Teslas that the people who worked on them may have also worked on spaceships, because you just feel like this. I'm still always impressed by that. Like last night was the first time we just had my sister in the car and my wife was driving. It just, for the first time ever, I sat in the back seat of my car.
How did that feel?
While it was driving. And I was impressed. I was like, oh my God. I was like, it feels like they're so far away. I have all this leg room, and it was super comfortable. And I was like, whoa, why don't we do this more often? It's nice back here. This is cool. And I could see the whole glass roof and everything.
The Randy experience.
Can I tell you something? Yeah, I was about to say, can I tell you something? I had such a mood sitting in the back seat with my son while we were driving a few weeks ago. And we're doing the road trip. And I was sitting back there, and I was just like admiring that I could see the sky. And I was like, wow. I look at my son, I'm like, you have no idea how made you have it right now. And he's just sitting there like...
He's spoiled,
He gets the whole panoramic sunroof in a month or so. It's going to be crazy. He's going to be able to see everything without the center crossbeam.
And he just... No, but the thing is, he won't care. He'll be like, whatever. Give me my graham crackers.
I'm going to cry when you stop.
Give him my graham crackers. Yeah, I get that impression too. I haven't checked out the Kona, but when I test drove the Mach-E, I think when you go from Tesla to not Tesla, you immediately notice that like this feels kind of like it's kind of backed in here. Like, there's not a great use of space. I feel like there's a lot of padding that doesn't need to be there, or maybe that's what gives our those other vehicles good build quality and good reliability. Us Tesla boys are used to our creaks and rattles and everything. We're like, yeah, whatever. But it feels very open.
Yeah.
Because all that acoustic's not there. So, yeah,
Somehow...
I'm sure this will be a decent vehicle for some, but nothing about it screams Model Y, replacement for anyone that has
Model
one,
Y killer. Maybe. Unless you want Android Auto or whatever.
I was trying not to use that word, but I knew someone's going to use it.
Tesla killer. Yeah. I think you put up a great point as well with if you step out of a Tesla, you're going to notice all the buttons. And definitely with the Kona or the Niro, buttons everywhere. Yes. It was just overwhelming. Yeah. I'm like, what? Why? The Ariya at least was...
want them or you don't.
The Ariya was a little bit more concealing with it, which I liked. But... no, the Kona and the Niro were just yikes. And then we went in all the gas cars as well, and it was like,
oh yeah,
okay, we get it with the gas cars.
Someone does. It's not me, but someone out there wants it.
Yeah,
yeah, but they should be more compelling, or at least more interested now. Did you guys see that the first Magic Dock has been installed?
No,
I did. I guess the news broke like 2 hours ago as of this recording.
I did? Yeah, like right before we started recording, there was a account that located it. I'll put it in the group chat so you guys can see it. But Tesla supercharger staff, like Tesla employees, actually had a Rivian at a supercharger in New York. I think it was not too far from Buffalo, but yeah, they had like a Rivian charging at a supercharger. So it seems like it's finally beginning. But there's a point here in the picture I just put that I just want to be made known because I think it's such a funny like realization about how NACS is designed versus how CCS is designed.
Yeah.
So the Magic Dock, in principle, maybe in the real world it gets a little complicated, but in principle it's a great idea, right? If you're a Tesla customer, it works like any old supercharger. Nothing changes. You pull into the stall, you pull out the cable, you plug in. Now, if you take a non-Tesla with the Magic Dock, you have to activate the charger from the app anyway. So once you activate the charger and say, I would like to charge now, then when you grab the cable and pull it out, it's CCS on the other end. So that's the magic part, it's very Apple-esque, and then you plug it in. The only reason, so some people thought, well, wait a minute, so there's an adapter there. How come someone can't just like steal the adapter and keep it? Now they have a NACS to CCS adapter everywhere they go. Well, you can't because NACS locks internally. The lock of the NACS connector is inside the port, not on the outside. So that's what other people, I think Alpha called it. It's Karen proof is what he referred to it as. So if you're plugged in at a supercharger and the car is locked, someone can't just come up to that cable and unplug you because the cable and the car are now locked together. On a CCS vehicle, they can because the unlock mechanism is on the outside of CCS. It's a physical latch. So if you're charging, I've seen this happen. There's been videos of this. If you're charging at like a charge point or a level 2, J17, you can just walk up to anyone's car. Even if their car is locked, pull down on the latch and unplug it and plug in your car. So that's a design flaw with the other guy's system. So because Tesla had the foresight to build in an internal lock, you can't pull off the Magic Dock. Once it's in CCS mode, it's NACS locks in and now you can't pull it off. But Tesla can pull it off when you need to charge your regular Tesla. So basically, if the designs were switched, the Magic Dock could not exist. There's no way. Because of how they fundamentally designed the locking systems. Like, if Tesla had CCS and everyone else had NACS, Tesla couldn't have a Magic Dock. Like, it wouldn't work. So I just thought that was a funny realization of, like, how much cleverness and foresight there was for this port design versus the other.
Yeah.
But it's cool to see it actually in the real world. I don't know if you can actually go to that charger yet, but at least the hardware is installed, and they have a picture of a guy in a Rivian that's plugged in, or at least trying to plug in, but he's occupying all the stalls.
I'm loving I'm sure. I think what you said before is that these are Tesla employees, so they're not technically blocking these because they're new, and you can't really. We don't know if you can charge them yet, but even so, it just made me laugh looking at the Rivian in the Eagle. It was. It doesn't. I can't tell if the cable is longer on this thing or if it has an extender or not. Which
I don't think it is, based on the picture I'm looking at.
Isn't solving the problem, right?
No.
Or at least the one that we've talked about before being, how do you charge a non-Tesla here without occupying multiple spaces?
Right.
I think that still needs to be solved.
I feel like that needs to be addressed, although what Tesla's probably doing with, the wording of select superchargers will be open is that they're going to add the Magic Dock to chargers that are, luckily Tesla has all the data on this. Electrify America probably has no idea how to look at this information, but Tesla can tell which superchargers are really busy and which ones aren't. And that's how they kind of rolled out superchargers to non-Teslas in Europe and Australia, as they selected the locations that never get a line, never get that busy, so that, okay, even if the Rivian occupies 2 stalls or the Taycan or whatever it is, Teslas will still be able to show up and plug in. They'll just go, oh, I got to charge at this different stall. Just don't park right next to the Rivian, and you should be fine and you should be able to charge. But I agree with you that this definitely doesn't really solve the problem. I
think having a drive-through, kind of like what we've talked about for like accepting trailer type vehicles,
yes,
adopting that type of area for your chargers, even if it means that you have to take up a corner of the parking lot or a portion of the parking lot, if you can get that zoned out for yourself and you have it in that orientation, you can charge any EV at that point then, because it's just like going up to a turnstile at any gas station. That's what I'm trying to think of. Yeah, gas station.
Yeah, because you can either pull in forward or backward, depending on where your charge port is.
Yeah.
So that's.
I think that might be.
That's
the future
probably the best
if they
solution.
Want to eliminate the cable length problem, but I don't know. This is also Gen 1, right? Gen 1 of the Magic Dock.
True.
So we don't know, and also
they're gonna deploy one. So that they get the infrastructure bill funding. See? It's open! The supercharger network charges non-Tesla. There's literally just one stall in New York.
This also makes me interested in how easy it is to convert existing ones to new ones, because the design looks very similar the
design is very human.
I'm done.
Yes. For the record, I don't think it's a new supercharger. I'm pretty sure this is a existing one, and they just kind of install that dock, and then the existing cable that was there before can still be there.
That's why maybe, Mike, you asked if it was longer, because to me it looked longer, but then it's like, it's just that part's right there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a big brick.
Yeah,
Mike's done. He's done.
I would like to see some V4 superchargers with longer cables, but I think the better solution, you're right, is just having the charger a little bit back so it's more pull-through friendly. Then you wouldn't need the longer cable, but you gotta assume these guys are doing more research than we are, right? Like,
it's their job.
They've gotta know.
But also, it's not their job. Never mind. I'm just gonna stop. I'm done talking about the Magic Dock at this point.
Okay, fair enough. Well, it's cool to see one in the wild, I guess, but I'm just still struggling to visualize the timeline that they set out. 7,500 locations by the end of 2024. It's like, dang, that's a lot. Like, that's that's going to make a lot of non-Teslas a lot more road trippable. That's a fun word.
Road trippable.
Road trippable.
But I guess we have to ask ourselves how, like, do you think Tesla is more comfortable giving up that advantage, or at least not having as strong an advantage when they feel like, okay, we can get our prices down lower now. We're not so worried if people will go with non-Teslas and utilize the supercharging network. Is it just a strength of the margins?
It's going to be a battle of the margins at this point, if you think about it.
Yeah.
When comparing, if you open up to a whole bunch of other EVs, is your cash flow with all these EVs charging at your supercharger outweighing the cost of making these new superchargers?
Yes, true.
And that's something that remains to be seen. But judging by the fact that Tesla bought a whole building in the Silicon Valley for their engineering headquarters, I think they're.
Did you guys catch that?
I did. Right next to Apple.
Was that weird or what?
It's very beautiful.
Time to get out of Texas. That's what I hear.
Back into California, where they'll tax you if you leave.
I hear Newsom offered Elon a deal he couldn't turn down. It's like, you're gonna get these penalties, or maybe there's a tax event. I don't know. But
do you guys get the impression Elon's trying to be like Democrat friendly? I don't know. Like I feel like he changed his narrative a lot. Like I feel like Elon in Q4 of 2022 was very they're putting chemicals in the water.
You know, Drew, this building is a very beautiful building. I think they're going to be able to do a lot of cool engineering stuff with it. And
what does that mean? Engineering headquarters.
I don't know, because I looked at all the engineering positions that they're offering, and it's still basically the same stuff that they've been offering since mid last year. Just out of curiosity, I was looking at what jobs there are in Palo Alto for Tesla as an engineer myself.
Sure.
And it's a lot of the same stuff. So I think maybe it's more of a nice little testbed area, because we see all these spottings of Cybertrucks in the Palo Alto area, and the only place that they're able to hide in a way
I couldn't have said it better.
Previous Tesla HQ. So now they can hide them in this nice HP building that they just bought, but now they could do a lot more testing with batteries and other stuff, because that's a lot of the jobs that they have open still right now, and that's what they're trying to bring in, because it's not going to be a new design studio, because that's all in LA right now, and that's where they build the prototypes and all that. I think this will serve as testing the prototypes, and they also have the test track on the other side of the bay in Fremont. So I think this is just another lab for them to work in, really.
It's just weird, because I remember all of their points about moving their headquarters to Giga Texas, and they were like, see, this allows us all to be in one place, the factories and the design and all that work going on. But now they're like, but also it's good to have headquarters here. But that's not the headquarters. It's just engineering headquarters. But does that mean there's not engineering in Giga Texas? No, it's still going on there. So I don't know. It felt like just an opportunity for Newsom and Musk to shake hands.
Yes, I agree.
Look, we are still friends. I am not mad at you anymore.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like. I don't know. It just, there wasn't that much information, and it just I felt like there had to be more to it, because I was like, okay, if Tesla just wanted to have another nice building to recruit engineers, and they just admit, okay, there's a lot of engineering talent in Silicon Valley in California, so we want to have a location that they can work at that's nearby. But I was like, did Elon need to be there for like? Yes. I felt like it was odd that he decided, yes, I will be present, so that I can say this is where engineering will take place. And also, California is big. Did you know how many people live in California?
There's a lot of people in California.
There's like a crap load.
They were bragging about how California is like the fourth largest economy now. It used to be fifth, but now it's fourth. And then Gavin Newsom said, and I quote, "Eat your heart out, Germany." This is a governor of California.
Oh, geez.
That's how we got in this mess
You don't wanna
80
mess with
years
Germany.
ago. Careful, Newsom.
I think we should be nice to Germany because Giga Berlin is there doing a good job.
Yes.
But
I'm still
And they
waiting.
don't forget.
That reminds me.
What?
What was it? Giga Berlin tweeted out saying, "Oh, we're gonna start doing tours of our factory." I'm still waiting on my tour at Fremont.
yeah,
They promised
like
me
that,
it. They
please.
said because you got a Tesla during the pandemic, you're gonna get priority like touring. Was it offerings or whatever to like come tour the factory? I'm still waiting, Tesla. Please.
Yeah, Tesla.
there's
I would love to
There's
see your
a-
engineering and manufacturing.
there's a lot of atmosphere you need to take in, which is why they're going to offer air touring.
You did it. Have a good week, everyone. Bye. You're ugly for that. You're Mike.
No.
Wait, come back, Mike.
I just
That was terrible.
We're not even halfway done.
That was awful. That was worse than. Never mind. I'm not continue that. But did you guys like? How's your Lucid stock, by the way, everyone? If you haven't, because Q4 did not look good for them.
Do I look like a buffoon? I don't own Lucid stock.
I'm making fun of Lucid so that I feel better about my canoe stock.
You guys really tried to get the next Tesla stock, didn't you? This is a thing. Well,
I
it's
support
fine.
Canoe in every endeavor that they go through.
I blame Mike. Mike
What?
gave me investment advice.
Oh, and you could take that. That's financial advice.
Throw
I thought
me
the
under
Canoe was
the
cool.
Canoe LV. Why you gotta do that?
I like the canoe. I still like the canoe because of its design and visibility and stuff. But oof, that's finances of that company are worse than
Don't do it.
De Niro. I think it was. What's his name? Some
Robert
big
De-
celebrity I was reading.
You talking to me? You
I lost all my money on canoe stock. That's what I'm telling you.
You could be Mark Wahlberg, Marky Mark, and I lost all my money in crypto. Fortune favors the brave. Get the go.
That was Matt Damon, or is that the joke?
That is the
I think
joke.
that's the joke.
That's
Okay.
that's the joke.
Mark Damon.
Matt,
Mark Damon lost all his money. Okay. I want to conclude that Nick is in fact fired from the EV podcast. Just so we
True
can set the record
tells
straight.
all.
And do you have any final words on that, Randy? Like, what were your impressions?
wait, I don't think I understand your question.
What was Nick's quirks and features? Tell us about those.
Wait, what?
Tell us about Nick's quirks and features.
He has many quirks and features, but yeah, he has specifically chosen a lifestyle that doesn't work with electric vehicles. So, how does that make you feel?
Am I talking to you? Am I talking to Nick? Or am I talking to the audience? Because I have a different answer for each.
Screw that question. I don't care about the answer for any of those. Tell us if there's been an update before we go on the Model Y performance delivery.
I was waiting for you to ask me that question.
Please.
Okay, now we
This
can
whole
do-
podcast.
The title will be his delivery update, and we wait 80 minutes.
No, it'll be quick. It moved again from the 9th to the 11th.
Wait,
It's terrible.
It's a window though, right?
It is a window, yeah.
Of March.
It's from 11th to.
Give me a second. 11th to the 31st.
You're not a real Tesla fan. 31st.
Okay, so
they're
they
pushing
trended
it back.
a little bit away.
By 2
Do you
days.
think you could get Hardware 4 if Investor Day announces Hardware 4?
Who's to say?
Most of who's to say? Who's to say? I want you to know what it looks like when you do it, Drew. Who's to say?
Neither of you guys have the hair to do a Craig impression.
Excuse me?
Wow.
How long is that?
There you go. Wow. That was beautiful.
Wow.
I'm blushing.
No one's ever asked me how long it is.
The supercharger cable? Yeah, it's about 30
Yeah, it's okay. It's a shower.
It's Randy's got his own magic duck, if you know what I'm saying.
I get a lot of things done quickly.
Why am I on this
This is-
podcast with y'all?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Word.
Um,
But
Oh, that's right.
I
you guys are fun.
forgot. I was like, we were doing final thoughts, and I realized Investor Day is happening before our next episode. We need to do predictions.
Is that quick? Really?
so
It's
first,
March 1st, which is...
If it was any other vehicle
days.
that I had, I would probably, my gut instinct would say no, I wouldn't get hardware for. But the fact that I'm getting the most popular car with the most desirable trim, I might. I actually think I might. Yeah.
Because, they announced the Hardware 3 Switch.
It hasn't been built yet, so
Yeah. There's no VIN. When they announced Hardware 3, they said we've already been putting this in cars for the past couple months. So to prevent some type of effect, they tend to announce these things after they've already made the switch. So and there's been a lot of talk on Tesla Twitter about Hardware 4 being included. There's leaked pictures of it, and people are looking at cameras and stuff. So it's got me thinking now that if they do announce Hardware 4 at Investor Day, it's quite possible that Randy's Model Y will have it.
And how does that make you feel, gentlemen?
You got to do the Lex Friedman voice when you.
Oh. Hey, shit, I'm on
What
the spot.
is your thoughts? What do you think the possibilities of Hardware 4 are, and why? And
Well,
what could they do?
It depends. Hang on. I'm going to calibrate my voice. Do you see a... I'm trying to get his speech rhythm.
The do you see was perfect.
Yeah. Do you see a possibility of there being a future hardware update? You notice how my eyes look up right when he finishes the question?
Yeah,
He does
that was the Lex Friedman interviewing Tim Cook.
Tim Apple. Timmy Tim. This is something. I just need you here so I can call you out on your stuff.
Okay, to answer that question, Randy, I feel bad because I know that this is Brittany's car, and I know that
Oh,
Brittany is not going to care at all about.
She was asking me about it today.
Like,
why
she's not going to want to pay $200 a month for full self-driving. She's definitely not going to drop 15 grand. And if you express, I know you already don't really care that much after paying for full self-driving and trying out the beta. You don't really have much to say about it, and you're just like, no, it's not very good, and robotaxis aren't coming soon. So I'm like,
what?
Okay, there's a whole new generation, a whole new computer on this model, and we'll probably never find out.
Because it's got another whole generation of Azkas in it.
She cares about subscribing $200 a month. We talked about that. She goes, I would do $200 a month if we...
Interesting.
Guys.
But
this
Babby.
This is you and I talking right now, okay? The amount of cross-country traveling that we would be doing between now and then, it almost benefits itself to have that for those trips.
Maybe. But I do
Autopilot's fine for
I was going to say, I think of Drew's trip down to San Diego. And that just sounded like hell with all the fans.
I guess maybe I need hardware 4. That's
maybe
the
you need
problem.
hardware 4.
Ooh,
maybe I need hardware 4.
What if you miss on hardware 4? What if you miss it by like a month? It comes out like in April. Yeah, and you get.
Oh, I don't give a. I could not.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I don't think Randy cares at all.
Randy does not give a flying on any of that.
I'm more interested now in Randy's car than Randy is. I think. Like,
to be fair, I think you've been more interested.
Yeah, but like following the hardware 4 stuff, people are saying like, oh, they're going to start hardware 4 production, or they have started it already in certain models. But like it's sparked a whole discussion for me, because now I'm seeing like the Green the Only tweeted out pictures of it. Mm-hmm. And he's saying this size of the dimensions of the computer are not backwards compatible. You will not be able to put hardware 4 into hardware 3 cars. It's not going to be a free retrofit. It's not even going to be a paid retrofit. Elon's saying, nope, hardware 3 is good enough. We're just going to do hardware 4 for the cars that are coming out now so that they're a bit more future-proof, but it's not going to be something we offer. And I think that's going to backfire extremely. But
why? Why do you think people care that much if they're the type of people who are investing in that and willing to spend the money? I mean, I think they see these cars like upgrading iPhones or something. I don't know if
a lot of people do.
They'll brute and kick and fuss for a little bit, and then they'll turn around, sell their car so they can get the new one. I don't think it's going to backfire. I think these guys are so fanatical about that type of stuff that if that stuff matters to them, they've made up their mind a long time ago that that's what they'll do what they got to do to get to that end goal. Because in their mind, if there was a cost-saving element involved, they're still ahead of the curve before it happens. And if it's not a cost element, then they just want the latest and greatest. You got so many of these guys that are leasing vehicles. You got so many of these guys that make enough money that like they pay for them outright, these 6-figure vehicles. I feel that like the backfire for the yous and me's of the community, it will be so minor. Like, yeah, okay, that's nice. Now pay me, now pay the full. now pay me $8.
I do agree there are people that will get over it, but I don't think everyone will. And I think that there's a very real chance of like self-driving at level 4 or robo-taxi access being granted to hardware 4 customers, but not hardware 3 customers. And it's going to turn into this, you told us if we pay for full self-driving, it will eventually make us money, but only the people who have the proper hardware can do that, because we're already kind of seeing a limited form of that with how long it took to get people with MCU1 full self-driving beta. Because people in 2016 paid for full self-driving, everyone else was getting beta, and they were like, hey, when am I getting beta? And Tesla can just go, we'll come to you later. They have no timeline they have to stick to. So they can just push back if there are hardware limitations, which Elon claims there isn't, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say I think Elon might be wrong on that. But I'm not I'm less doubtful that hardware 4 will perform better. Obviously, they've learned a lot from self-driving and its limitations and blind spots and what it can and can't see. And based on the wording of in the tweet thread that Green the Only posted, I think there's going to be better visibility on hardware 4, where it can see around blind spots a lot better than hardware 3 can. Especially based on the way Chris from Dirty Tesla talked about it. He was like, seeing stuff in front of me is never an issue. Like, hardware 3 doesn't have a problem seeing something stopped, I should slow down. But the bigger problem is when you're at like a real tight corner and there's fast traffic coming, and if there's a camera capable of seeing as well as I can see, or better, then it will know when it's clear and it will know when it can go. Whereas hardware 3, where the cameras are positioned, it will, like he was saying in his videos, that it'll start pulling forward to check for visibility, but he can see himself that it's not clear. But the car has to inch a little bit more to be able to see that it's clear, because there's not a camera facing left and right on the front. Whereas there's these fender cameras they're referencing in the Green the Only tweet, where they're more frontward facing and they can see that way. So I'm like, we don't know how good full self-driving beta is getting, because one update makes it worse, one update makes it better. But if hardware 4 crosses that threshold of, yes, this is ready for regulatory approval, but hardware 3 does not cross the threshold, I think that can throw off a lot of... I don't know if Tesla's... They've probably protected themselves legally in the fine print. I don't think anywhere on the full self-driving package or anywhere in the order agreement it says this is guaranteed to make you X amount of dollars. I don't think they ever legally stated that, but Elon himself could be dealt with a lot of lawsuits and a lot of people saying you misled people or tried to convince them they need to buy this package, when in reality you're actually never going to offer that functionality to that package, or if you don't deliver it by a certain point. I see it getting very, oh, you're old Tesla owners, these are new Tesla owners, they get first dibs, and that gets messy.
It's very Logan Paul to be like, who are you to say when we're done and we're shipping it out? So here's my thought, or here's what I have to say overall on that. I was explaining hardware 4, to my wife, saying here's what the potential is and why it's like considered a next gen upgrade for hardware. And I was so in the weeds with it, the forest through the trees. Her simplistic response was just brought me back. I was like, yeah. She goes, none of that matters. You're still legally liable. You still have to be in control. And this is the same reason why I don't want to buy FSD going forward, because it doesn't change anything. The laws won't change. I will be responsible. I'm liable. And I don't want to put my life at risk like that for the vehicle when there's so many other variables that I can't control with oncoming and ongoing traffic. And especially now with the kid in the car, I would never consider that. I'm like, yep, that's... I was like, okay, well, good talk. I was like, hey, maybe hardware...
I think she's right. I agree with her. I wouldn't fight her on that.
Yeah, same. Because I'm over here like, yeah, but then it's like, it could do this, it could and scan and scope, and it could pay your taxes.
Randy describes hardware 4.
And and he's like, yeah, I don't change nothing. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but a boy can dream a little bit. Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I do think there will be at least a vocal minority up in arms over not being able to convert their Model 3 or Model Y to hardware 4. But I think the one thing that will probably scare me is how hardware 3 will age in the presence of hardware 4. Because we saw how much hardware 2 and 1 and 2.5 aged compared to hardware 3. And there's people in lines at the service center trying to get the upgraded GPU or just hardware.
Right. That's right.
For their car. So I think that's my only concern when hardware 4 comes around is...
Can we get free supercharging for life then for being the old guard? I'll stick with hardware 3.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. But
no? All right, just boy. Me? All right.
We already had that conversation about how much free supercharging costs.
Apparently 3 million.
No. 7 figures. That could be 9 million. Anyways. 9 million.
like-
Yeah, I
One more
agree with
million.
you completely, though. I think that Tesla has a tendency to be very forward-thinking, which helps them out a lot of the time. They're very like, that's why they're in the lead right now, is because they had the foresight to say electric cars are the future. They need a charging infrastructure that works and is reliable, and that's why no one can touch them.
Foresight.
But
Because hardware 4.
Shut up.
Mike, you gotta stop with these puns, man. Come on.
I'll see myself out.
Bye.
But they have a tendency to be like, once there's a new standard that they're ready for, they go all in on with it, and they just kind of ignore what was left behind.
Yeah.
And I think they will probably start rolling out hardware 4, and it'll have better performance and better visibility. And I'll even admit, I'll cave a little bit. I think there's a very high likelihood of hardware 4 working for robotaxis. Like, right amount of visibility, right amount of... Okay, not that much, but Randy's giving me the stare right now, so the Wyatt stare. So that's why I'm not... I'm not saying 100% likely, but I would say, knowing the limitations of hardware 3 and how many iterations, this is why I'm phrasing it this way. How many updates has hardware 3 gotten with full self-driving beta? Like, it's been almost 3 years now of refinement, of just, okay, here we took some neural net training, we're going to apply it to the fleet again. Okay, we trained our algorithm again, we're going to apply it again. It's been 3 years, and we're still like,
In beta.
pretty good. Not where it needs to be, but pretty good. Not quite ready for regulatory approval and all that. And I'm like, okay, how many more years of refinement on the current hardware suite does it need? Or have we just hit a local maximum? That sounds more believable to me.
Getting away with this.
Exactly. But the likelihood of, okay, we refined hardware 3 to the max of its capability over the past 3 years. Now we know what its limits are. We can increase resolution, place the cameras better, even add back radar. Ugh, it's a whole nother topic.
Radar.
After
He
After
says
all
from the other
that-
side of the room.
now we know how to get it better with a better hardware implementation.
Let's just
I
go
would say
back
the
to horse and
likelihood-
buggy while we're at it, Drew.
I'm
Radar.
already set up and ready to go on that front then.
Yeah, Mike's got horses. He's ready. He's paid for full self-riding beta.
Stop.
Thankfully, it only costs a
I
whole bunch
have
of money
heartburn.
and hay.
Yeah, pretty much. But it probably won't crash, at least.
You'd be surprised.
You know,
The horse won't. You'll get thrown off, though.
does your horse have crumple zones?
My goodness. So pivoting away from this, what I am excited
What's
to
its
see
horsepower?
is at least it seems we're not escaping, are we?
So yeah. The Investor Day predictions.
Yes, I would like to see a little bit more validity to some of the teases that they've been giving with the new design or of whatever they're coming up with for the next car. Whether it's the Robotaxi or some Model B, Model 2, whatever they want to call it. B for bees.
I love that name. I don't know why. It just makes me think of Bingus.
Bingus.
Model
lives.
Bingus.
You could ride
But-
in a Bingus.
I need
Do you
to
think-
see your...
Do you think Tesla would reveal a $25,000 car, or would they should just call it the Tesla Osborne? That's the name of the car. That's just
The Green Goblin.
the
It's actually just a glider that you stand on.
yes. That's it.
I'm
Design
now imagining. I'm now imagining Elon Musk in the Green Goblin suit.
Finish it! Sorry. All right, I'm done. You got me thinking Green
I can
Goblin
picture
quotes.
Elon talking to himself in the mirror.
What have I done? What you couldn't do. I bought Twitter. Oh no.
These are great predictions.
So, if we're doing last minute predictions, I take it Mike's is a Robotaxi / Model B reveal. Is that your prediction?
Yeah, I do think we'll probably see.
Okay.
At least that's my hope. And I think the possibility is very likely because is Investor Day? Where's it being held? Oh, it's Austin. But even still, they've been teasing this design or this next generation platform for like ever since Battery Day. No, even before Battery Day. When they I forget when, but at least like they showed.
I think he dropped the number 25,000 in an interview with Marquez back in 2019.
Yeah. So it's been a long time coming at this
Let's
point.
see, just for inflation, now you're looking at the $35,000 car that they promised.
Yeah.
There you go.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So I do think it's due time that we see it.
Yes. Okay.
Maybe the Tesla bot will cart it out. I don't know. I do think maybe Tesla bot will make a presence there at Investor Day in some capacity.
Yeah. Definitely.
Whether it's a video of it
I'd be
walking
surprised.
around in Palo Alto or something else.
Something like that. Okay. Since it's our last podcast before Investor Day, Randy, last minute crazy predictions, flying roadster, whatever it is.
They are a one-trick pony, and they're just going to stick to the classics and do, a greatest hits and just talk about the Cybertruck. Boom. With no dates, no specs, and no pricing. Woo!
You're so excitedly disappointed. I love it.
I'm so happy.
I could see the enthusiasm in your eyes. Yeah. Okay. Both sound predictions. Both I would be excited to see.
What about you, Drew?
So I'll lean towards I think this will be intentionally vague to prevent Osborning, and they will primarily focus on
Some more Doc Ock.
the supply chain. What?
Never mind. It's another bad joke.
Oh.
So they're going to be focusing on
boy.
supply chain then.
Like, here's how we're going to get the most amount of lithium, here's how we're going to refine it, and here's how we're going to scale up battery production even more. It's going to be battery day 2 electric boogaloo.
So we're actually going to
about-
know when 4680s are coming?
Oh, no. Like, I agree with Randy on no dates. They seem to be consistent with that, with all of these Tesla events, whether it's AI Day or Battery Day. It's all, someday.
They can't afford another
do that.
lawsuit. So, my lawyers have
It's
advised me
Tesla,
to just leave
let's
it
be
alone.
honest.
Yeah.
I think they can't afford another lawsuit. Their margins are so strong. All of the money that they made from full self-driving will cover the class action lawsuits about not being able to turn your Tesla into a robotaxi.
And that
well,
lawyer...
Elon said, yeah, but Tesla Legal never made that promise, so we're good. Those are just words, Elon.
So they're going to be as
words.
evasive as a Tinder date then.
Sorry, Connor.
Just non-existent.
I don't... That just slipped out.
Too soon.
It just slipped out. It's fresh on my mind. My Discord's weird. Oh my. Okay.
Okay.
That slipped out. Oops.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think we're going to get much concrete info, but yeah, I think it will be vague, and I think it will be talking about things we already know, and expect to be disappointed, in the words of Zendaya. just Randy's little background chuckle always
At
gets.
this point, do I just say with great power comes great responsibility, and we just call it a day?
With great kilowatts comes great thermal management issues.
Godspeed, Tesla.
Elon, when he quits Tesla to go to
Me
Mars.
summoning my Model Y after hardware for retro.
I was good to you. Be a customer for me. I already have a customer. And its name is Aptera. I'm trying to drop my face.
That's right.
Godspeed, Tesla. Hit some. Don't tell Franz.
Don't tell Baglino. That's wonderful. My cheeks are hurting right now from the laughter.
And we got a whole nother show.
Okay, we're all warmed up.
All right.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Thank you all for listening. We'll catch you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.